First and foremost, I want to say thank you to every single person who has bought a deck of these cards, picked one up, and is supporting this project. It means a lot, and I really hope that as you watch this video and you hear my heart behind why these were created the way that they're created, you'll understand the vision and the mission behind what we're trying to do. This project was created out of a desire that I had to be able to give people the ability to build a bridge between the story of hope, love, and faith with an everyday object. That's the whole idea, being able to take something that is seemingly natural, that gets used oftentimes without any form of context, whether it's for poker, you're playing Go Fish, you're doing magic, you're just a collector and you have this thing sitting around your house. If you do cardistry, it's really limitless what you can use these for. The quality that these were created with is intentionally designed to be able to be used in all of those areas. And so being able to spark a conversation about the gospel, about the greatest love story ever, I think, is the entire purpose and why we created these. With that being said, I want to dive in just a little bit deeper and show you what I mean, be able to spark conversation. What does that mean? The ability to spark conversation with a deck of playing cards, right? Traditionally, I'm sure if you bought these, you are familiar with what cards look like, with what normal suits look like, the normal hearts, spades, clubs, diamonds, jacks, queens, and kings, all the ones that have faces on them. We call them face cards, right? We intentionally designed all of these cards to have a theme. Each suit has a theme. Each face card matches the theme of the suit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys a look at exactly what I'm talking about. So use the aces first. We have to clip this. So the four aces. Four aces represent the four themes for each of the suits. So for the clubs, we've got faith. For the hearts, we've got love. For the spades, we have death. And then for the diamonds, we have glory. Now, what do those things mean? So let's start with the club cards. The clubs, as I said, represent faith. So there being the stone and the tomb being the little club-like shape, stone being rolled away from the tomb, right, that Jesus came out of. That's literally the point of our faith. Exactly that. That's why that's there. And then if you look at the clubs on each of the other cards, you'll see that each club has a little hole in the center of it. And the idea behind that is also, again, going back to Jesus, the holes in his hands from when he was nailed to the cross. So again, all of it tying right back in with faith. And for the face cards of these faith ones, what we did was we tried to pick people that we felt like either needed the most faith or on the opposite scale of things, right? Sometimes have the most faith, has the most faith. So with that being said, here are these. We have the Jack of Clubs, which this is supposed to represent a little orphan boy. You can see he's kind of sad. He's got his teddy bear in his like packed up bag. The next one we have is a widow. And then for the King of Clubs, we have a homeless man, right? So again, faith cards. Next, let's go over the spades. So the spades, again, this was the Ace of Spades. The theme of the spades are death. And so when we go into those, we've got the Jack of Spades, which if you look here, it is a college kid with a drink in his hand and drugs in the other hand. The Queen of Spades, we've got, this is a like promiscuous prostitute potential resembling card. And then the last one being the King of Spades, and this is supposed to be like a drug dealer representation, right? So with the spades again, the idea was to add cards to the faces that represent morality, brokenness, consequences of sin, right? And I think the most important thing about this entire section of cards is that when we're thinking about death, not to view it as a bad or a negative thing. Instead, choose to view it as, because we are aware of death, we have the ability to receive how precious life actually is. The other thing for the spades, right, here are what the normal cards will look like. So again, death being the theme, thought it was cool to do like skeleton bone type thing. So the spades are all outlined in this like bony looking design. Pretty cool. Now for the diamonds. So the diamonds, once again, are supposed to represent the glory of God. So we went with this design that has like a precious looking jewel on it with all the different colors, right? And that's kind of something, if you are aware from the Bible, which maybe we'll put like a picture like here, there, somewhere. But the priests back in the day would wear breastplates, I know, that had multiple stones on it. And so you're talking about the people back then who were the representations of God on earth at the time. Were the ones who were the mediators, you would even call it, between God and the people. Wore all these precious jewels, and it's something, right, that just shows glory. So going into the rest of the diamonds, on all the faces we've got the Jack of Diamonds right here, which we placed a Pharisee on here. Not the good guys, but you cannot deny that overall they knew their stuff when it came to scripture, when it came to the Torah and all these things. And in that way, I still truly believe that they're bringing glory to God in that sense. So that's why they're on the face of that. The next one, we have the Queen of Diamonds. And on this card, there is a woman, a princess looking figure, princess, queen looking figure. And the idea is that this would represent favor, right? Or being favored by God, being blessed and highly favored, however way you want to put it. The last face card we have is the King of Diamonds. And this is one of my favorite cards in the deck because I feel like it is a good reminder to a lot of us, and I think a lot of us have this struggle. Like I said, going through all of these cards, all of the face cards, the point was to have cards that represent every type of person, every type of situation that we may have been in, have dealt with, will deal with, right? All of us will be able to find ourselves in these cards in one way, shape, or form. Every person who you're engaging with these cards will be able to find themselves in these cards in one way, shape, or form. And this one is one that I think a lot of people may resemble, may reside with, and it is the story of the rich young ruler, right? Give away all your possessions and follow me. And that's not an easy thing to do. And so this card represents exactly that. In one hand, he's got his jewels and his money and his possessions. The other hand is the option to follow God and receive what God has for his life. And I think that is oftentimes, again, a tension that a lot of us battle with. Why it's my favorite card. And then the regular diamonds look like this. So nothing too crazy. We were gonna do something a little bit different where we'd add like color to different cards, but it would have got too confusing. We wanted to still like keep the main thing. Spades look like spades, diamonds look like diamonds, hearts look like hearts, and clubs look like clubs. So speaking of hearts, that is the next card, right? We said love. And this is the ace, the theme card for that. So you got the heart on fire. It's been called, right, the passion, the immaculate heart. That's what this was. As we go into here, right, I'm gonna start with the main one, right, the King of Hearts, the King of our hearts, Jesus. This is the Jesus card. don't think I have to explain that too much. The next one is Mary. Is supposed to resemble Mary, and I like the way that we did this because you can make any of these resemble almost whatever you want within the realm of what it's supposed to be, right? And so for this card that we're saying is Mary, we've had people ask already, like, is it his mom? Is it Mary Magdalene? Is it like what Mary is it? And so the honest answer to that can be whichever one you want it to be, whatever story you need to portray. If you need to talk about being at the feet of Jesus, then you could use this card and say it's that Mary. If you want to talk about Mary Magdalene as disciple, you can talk about that Mary. If you want to include Jesus' mother in whatever it is you're trying to talk about, or in conversation that comes up using these, you can do that, right? So that's the fun in this. And the last and final card we are going to talk about, which unfortunately a lot of people are probably going to have questions about this, but it is this one. The last heart face card is a card that represents LGBTQ plus community. We did it on purpose. We know what we did. Like I said, we wanted to make sure that inside this deck, every type of person was resembled, every type of struggle was resembled, every type of lifestyle was resembled. And so that's honestly one of the most powerful things I think we could do, was adding this card to this deck, because for people who feel like we already don't love them or don't respect, quote unquote, right, their community enough, this is something that gives us an opportunity to have that conversation and have it the right way, in a way that I don't want to say takes back, because that's a heavy thing, but may help address church hurt, or ways that people have been hurt in the past by church, by pastors, by people who claim Jesus, by people who just said they were Christian and maybe weren't even Christian at all, right? That's the whole point of this. If you don't understand that, I'm sorry. But the entire reason that these cards were created, and they were created the way they were, where there's a homeless man, an orphan, a prostitute, a drunk college kid, a gang member, a princess, LGBTQ plus community, Pharisee, and Jesus all in the same deck, is because at some point somebody's going to see something like this when you're in the middle of playing cards, and they're going to say, what does that even have to do with anything? Why is there a Jesus card and there's this like drunk party kid? I thought this was a Christian deck, like Jesus is on the cross on the back of these. Like, why is that a thing? And that's your opportunity to step in and give as clear and as best of a example of the gospel as you can. That's the conversation starter. That's the in right there. That's the way that this becomes more than just a deck of cards and more than something you use to play a game, and it becomes a tool that potentially leads to salvation, potentially leads to just changing somebody's life and allowing Jesus to just step into the middle of whatever it is you're doing. So, cut myself short really quick. Finish this. The heart cards, right? We've got this. We've got these hearts that are bleeding, and yeah, they're dripping blood. It's a cool looking design. It's not super like gory or gross, but it's got just enough like swag to it. So yeah, that is why these are how they are. That was the purpose behind the design of the face cards and the theme that we put behind these. And it took a lot of prayer, a lot of going back and forth to get here, but this is where we feel we landed. This is what we feel is the most impactful. This is what we feel will be able to spark and generate the most productive, progressive, impactful conversations as these are being used in wherever the Lord sends these. And once again, the goal is not to shame anyone with these or guilt anyone with these, but to just show all the different types of people, all the different types of struggles, all the real situations that we go through, that we deal with as humans, as people, as neighbors, as friends, as family, as humans having a spiritual experience on this earth. This is the stuff that we go through. These are the things that we deal with. Okay, next, let me get these out of the way. You know what could be fun? Let's do this. If I just like, look at that. All right, that worked. Next two I want to talk about are the jokers. So we could have went with two little baby angel cherubim looking things, but we didn't want to do that. So we wanted something that had some kind of, again, it still fit the rest of the cards that we put out, but also has a more biblical feel to them. And so if you look at these, that's exactly what you're going to get. You will see that they are holding a playing card. There's a lot of cool stuff in the Magician's version of this if you chose to buy the set that has magic tricks tied into it. We'll talk about some cool stuff you could do with that later. But yeah, those are the jokers, nothing too crazy. Other two cards you might be curious about inside the deck, where there's one that's got like, it's blank, and it's got a back on it. Then another one that just has two backs, which, speaking of the backs, really cool design for these. You have Jesus on the cross, you know, the little pin thing at the top of it that says INRI. You have the doves on here that represent the Holy Spirit. You have the castle on the clouds that represent like the kingdom of heaven. And then you have angels just like blowing their trumpets, almost like just declaring the return, declaring the glory of God. I love it. I love this. I love these. Super excited that you guys are all gonna get to look at these, have these in your hands, and use them the way that God is gonna have you use them. But again, if you don't know what to do with this, you can just keep it as a collectible, just something you put aside, because if you use your cards a lot, cards do wear down over time. So this is something you can like keep safe just so it doesn't get gross or whatever. Once again, this deck is not just a one-trick pony. This is not just you can use this for one thing. The goal is that this is used for as many things as possible. You can use these cards. If you're a magician, you can use these to do magic. They move the same way, they spread the same way, they do all the things that normal cards do. If you're somebody who plays poker, even if that's something you wanted to start up, if you go to church and you wanted to have a guys' night, you wanted to have a poker night, now instead of using regular cards, you can use these ones that have some biblical meaning to them. And being able to, again, like using something like poker as a way to invite people into your home who don't necessarily believe, right? You're doing an activity that isn't like over Christianized, and you're able to use these to represent the gospel or spark that conversation. Again, if you see a Jesus card next to a prostitute, you're gonna be like, what the heck is that even doing there? If this is something you want to take in for like young adult group, youth group games, you're able to do that. Small groups. If you're an evangelist and you happen to be a magician, like I am, right? You can go and use these things on the streets, and it's just a way that you're able to soften hearts before giving a hard truth. And the goal is to use these to disarm, right? That's the entire point. I'm sure if you're a Christian and you've ever tried to tell somebody the gospel, it's not easy to just go straight into Jesus. And so being able to have something out that kind of brings the conversation up for you, so you don't have to just dive straight in and you can just kind of like react to it, that's the entire goal. That's the entire heart behind it. That's the entire purpose that we created these. That's why they look the way that they look. And even if you don't plan on doing any of that stuff with it, you can't lie. These are kind of fire. They look dope in every way, from the faces of the cards, right? The way those are designed, the diamonds, the design of the clubs, the unique design of the spades, the bloody hearts. Like, it's just a cool collector's thing as well. So that is why these cards exist. Go out, use them, tell somebody the good news, be relatable, show somebody you care, spread the gospel in the right way. And lastly, once again, this deck is not about labeling anybody any kind of way. this deck was created, this deck is designed, this deck has the look it has to be able to tell the stories of humanity, the things that we go through as humans, right? Everybody, like I said, will find themselves inside this deck. I am able to find myself inside this deck in these cards. And so it's not about this type of person is like this or this type of sin is like that. It's about the message, right? We are all living in a broken place, dealing with hard things, and we all need to be able to just rely on the love and the grace that Jesus gives us. That's the point. Thank you so much for picking this up. Go out and use them. We've prayed over all of these cards. The ones you're receiving have been prayed for. Let God use you. Go be a light.